She said she wanted to experience life without me. 11 days later, she came crawling back. By then, I had already learned what real freedom felt like. When she said it, I swear I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because of how rehearsed it sounded. Like a line out of some cliché self-discovery blog. I don't want to be tied down. I want to experience life. We'd been together for 4 years. We met when we were both 24, right after college. She had just moved to the city, still figuring out her career, still finding herself. I was in my first stable job, finally making enough money to cover rent and groceries without checking my bank app twice a day. We built a life together, slowly but steadily. One IKEA couch, one shared Netflix password, one rescued cat at a time. So hearing her talk like she was some free spirit being held hostage by me and our apartment was surreal. I didn't fight. I didn't beg. I didn't even ask for an explanation. I just looked at her, nodded, and said, "Go experience it." Then I got up, grabbed a suitcase from the closet, and started helping her fold her clothes into it. She blinked at me like she didn't expect that reaction, like she was gearing up for some big fight that would prove her point. She wanted me to argue, to cling, to cry. Instead, I zipped up the suitcase, carried it to the door, and asked if she needed an Uber. She sputtered something like, "Wow, you're not even going to try to stop me?" And that's when I realized just how far apart we'd grown. She didn't want freedom. She wanted drama. She wanted me to validate her choice by turning into the controlling, suffocating boyfriend she could run from. But I wasn't going to give her that satisfaction. So I wished her well. Literally. I said, "I hope you find whatever you're looking for." She left with a huff, dragging her suitcase down the stairs while I leaned on the doorway, calm as I'd been in months. And then something strange happened. The silence in the apartment didn't feel empty. It felt peaceful. I made myself dinner, something she never liked eating. I played my own playlist without compromise. I stretched out on the bed diagonally, with no one stealing the covers. The cat curled up beside me like nothing had changed. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe. The next few days were blissful. I went to the gym after work without rushing home. I caught up with friends I hadn't seen in months because she always had plans. I tried a new coffee shop near the office. I slept better. I even called my mom without someone rolling their eyes in the background. Meanwhile, she was out there experiencing life. I saw glimpses of it on social media. Shots of her at bars with random guys, selfies captioned with "Freedom feels so good," late-night stories of karaoke and cocktails. I didn't comment, didn't like, didn't even watch most of them. And then, on the 11th day, my phone buzzed. It was a message from her. "Can we talk? I miss you." I stared at it for a long moment, sipping my coffee. 11 days. That's how long her freedom lasted. 11 days of clubs, bad hookups, and hangovers before she realized what she'd thrown away. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I leaned back, looked around my peaceful, quiet apartment, and smiled to myself. For the first time, I wasn't the one crawling. The message sat unread for a few hours before I finally opened it. "Can we talk? I miss you." If she had written this a year ago, back when I was still bending over backwards to meet her shifting expectations, back when I feared losing her, I would have dropped everything. I would have called, begged her to come back, promised to change things I didn't even need to change. But this time, I just set the phone down and went back to chopping vegetables for dinner. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want to play games. What I wanted was clarity, for myself, not for her. So I waited until I'd finished my meal, washed the dishes, and sat down with a glass of wine before replying. "Hope you're well. What do you want to talk about?" Her response was almost instant, like she'd been staring at her screen waiting. "Us." I realized I made a mistake. "Can I come over?" I thought about it. 11 days. That was all it took for the glitter of her so-called freedom to rub off. I imagined her waking up hungover in some stranger's apartment, or sitting in a bar while her friends paired off with guys she didn't really like, feeling suddenly, crushingly alone. And now she wanted to crawl back into the stability she'd mocked. I typed back, "Not tonight. I'm busy." It wasn't a lie. I had plans to FaceTime a friend from college I hadn't spoken to in years. And you know what? That call meant more to me than whatever half apology she thought she could spit out in person. She didn't take it well. My phone buzzed for the next hour. "Please, I just need to explain. It's not what you think. I've been so lost without you." I let most of them go unanswered. Eventually, she wrote, "I can't believe you're being so cold. After everything we've been through, don't I at least deserve a conversation? That one made me laugh. Deserve? I deserved honesty. I deserved respect. She'd given me neither. The following weekend, she showed up at my door. No warning, just a knock that made the cat sprint under the couch. When I opened it, she was standing there with that practiced, sad eyes, look she always pulled when she wanted sympathy. Her makeup was smudged, her hair in a messy bun, and she was clutching her phone like it was a lifeline. "Can we please talk inside?" she asked, voice trembling just enough to sound rehearsed. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me, leaving the apartment sealed off. "We can talk here." She blinked. "You're not even going to let me in?" "No," I said simply. Her lips pressed into a thin line before she launched into a speech. How she needed space to figure herself out. How she thought experiencing life would give her clarity, but all it gave her was chaos. How she realized, in her words, that no one knows me like you do. No one makes me feel safe like you. I listened, arms crossed, while she rambled. She painted herself as confused, overwhelmed, swept up by peer pressure. She even tossed in, "You've always been the stable one. I took that for granted." It was almost impressive how she wove half-truths and flattery into a plea. When she finished, she looked up at me with those wide, glassy eyes and whispered, "Can we try again?" I took a deep breath, letting the silence stretch between us. She was waiting for my arms to open, for me to crumble, for the world to reset to the way it had been. But all I said was, "No, you wanted to experience life. Keep experiencing it." Her face felt like I'd slapped her. "You can't just throw away 4 years like that," she snapped. I tilted my head. "You threw it away. I just carried the suitcase." For a moment, she had no response. Just stood there, mouth opening and closing like she was searching for a script that suddenly didn't fit the scene. Finally, she tried one last card. "So that's it? You're just going to move on?" "I already have," I said, calm as the night sky above us. I turned, walked back inside, and locked the door. Through the peephole, I watched her hesitate, then stomp off down the hall, muttering something under her breath. The cat padded out from under the couch and curled against my leg, as if to say, "Good call." I sank onto the couch, feeling the kind of relief that doesn't come from winning an argument, but from stepping out of a game entirely. That was the night I realized. Sometimes the best revenge isn't anger or even indifference. It's peace. That I, in the weeks that followed, her attempts to wedge herself back into my life became almost predictable. It started small. A memory tag on Instagram, some old photo of us at the beach with a caption like, "Crazy how time flies." Then came the casual texts. "Hey, just wondering how you've been," or "Saw something today that reminded me of you." I ignored them at first, but she didn't take the hint. One Saturday morning, I came back from the gym to find her sitting on the front steps of my building, coffee in hand, like she was just passing by. She jumped up the second she saw me, plastering on that familiar smile. "Hey, what a coincidence," she chirped. "Not really," I said, brushing past her with my duffel bag. "This isn't a cafe. You came here for me." Her smile faltered. "Can't we just talk?" "No." I closed the lobby door behind me, leaving her outside. That night, she left a voicemail. Her voice cracked as she rambled about missing our routines, about how she couldn't sleep without the sound of me breathing next to her, about how she felt like she'd made the biggest mistake of her life. I didn't delete the message, not because I wanted to hear it again, but because it was evidence, proof of the cycle I had no intention of stepping back into. By the third week, she escalated. A mutual friend called me, sounding uncomfortable. "Look," she asked me to talk to you. "She's saying you're being unfair, that you won't even give her a chance to explain." I sighed. She already explained. She wanted freedom. She got it. End of story. He hesitated. "She's saying she's changed, that she realized you're the best thing that ever happened to her." I laughed, not out of cruelty, but out of disbelief. "You know what's funny? The best thing that ever happened to her isn't me. It's me letting her go. She just hasn't figured it out yet." Silence hung on the line before he muttered, "Yeah, I guess you're right." The final straw came when she showed up at my office. Not at the front desk, not in the parking lot. Inside, walking straight up to my desk with tears in her eyes. My coworkers froze mid-conversation, watching the drama unfold like a live soap opera. "Please, can we just," she started. I stood, kept my voice steady, and cut her off. This isn't the place. You need to leave. Not until you hear me out, she said, crossing her arms. I motioned to security. They escorted her out gently but firmly, her protests echoing down the hallway. My boss raised an eyebrow. I just shrugged and went back to my screen. That night, she sent a long, desperate message. I thought I wanted freedom, but freedom is empty without you. I know I hurt you. I know I threw away something real. But please, can't we try again? Just one more chance. I stared at it for a long while. Then I typed back. I already gave you the chance of a lifetime. You chose to throw it away. Don't text me again. I hit send, muted her number, and set the phone face down. For the first time in months, I slept through the night without waking up once. And in the quiet of that morning, I realized she wasn't fighting for me. She was fighting for the comfort she lost, the safety net she took for granted, the life she thought she could toss aside and reclaim at will. But I wasn't her safety net anymore. I was free. Final update. Weeks turned into months. By then, the chaos she had stirred in her own life became background noise to me. Friends occasionally sent me screenshots of her cryptic posts, blurry photos of wine glasses captioned, "Some mistakes can't be undone," or late-night tweets like, "It's so hard to lose the person who knew you best." But while her world spiraled into regret, mine was quietly rebuilding. I started small. More gym sessions, longer runs, healthier meals. It wasn't about revenge or looking better just to spite her. It was about reclaiming the parts of myself I had neglected while trying to keep someone else happy. I began sleeping properly, reading books I had abandoned, reconnecting with hobbies that once gave me joy. My nights of walking on eggshells were replaced with nights of peace. And it showed. My coworkers noticed my energy shift. Friends told me I seemed lighter. Even strangers smiled back when I passed them on the street. Meanwhile, her freedom unraveled faster than she could hold it together. The guy she had run off to experience life with, he didn't last long. From what I heard, he dumped her when he realized she wasn't looking for fun. She was looking for someone to pick up where I had left off. She had mistaken his interest for stability, and when he backed away, she found herself exactly where she started, alone. By the fourth month, she tried again to pierce the bubble of peace I had built. She sent a handwritten letter to my apartment. It wasn't a quick text this time. It was pages long, filled with apologies, nostalgia, and carefully chosen words about soulmates and destiny. I read it once. I folded it neatly, and then I dropped it in the shredder. Because here's the truth. When someone shows you that you're disposable to them, even for a moment, you can never unknow it. No matter how many flowers they send, no matter how poetic their apologies, no matter how loudly they claim they've changed, that knowledge never fades. She hadn't just broken my trust. She had shown me how little she valued what we had. And by the time she realized it, I had already moved so far forward that looking back felt like staring at a stranger's life. The irony? In her desperate scramble to get me back, she missed the part where I had already let go. Truly let go. I didn't need closure from her. I didn't need revenge. I didn't even need an apology anymore. The best revenge was the calm I had created for myself, the life I was quietly building brick by brick while she was chasing ghosts of what she had lost. One evening, months later, I bumped into her at the grocery store. She looked smaller somehow, like the weight of her own choices had settled on her shoulders. She gave me a weak smile, as if testing whether I'd still offer her one back. I didn't. I just nodded politely, grabbed my basket, and walked away. Because that's what freedom looks like. Not slamming doors, not shouting matches, not bitter comebacks. Just indifference. She wanted to experience life. She got exactly what she asked for. But so did I. And in my version, I finally learned what it felt like to live fully. Not as someone's safety net, not as someone's consolation prize, but as my own person. The day she realized she had lost me wasn't the day I walked out. It wasn't the day she texted me in regret. It was the day she saw me move forward without hesitation, while she remained stuck in the past she destroyed with her own hands.